We are extremely excited to announce our new presenting sponsor, Hard Rock Bet. Everyone knows and loves their hotels and casinos, but now you can use the top-rated Hard Rock Bet sportsbook to place all your NFL bets this season. Hard Rock Bet is the only legal sportsbook in the state of Florida and is also available in Arizona, Ohio, New Jersey, Indiana, Tennessee, Virginia, Illinois, and Colorado, with more states to come. You can also play on Hard Rock Bet's online casino if you are in New Jersey. As we gear up for the NFL season, sign up for Hard Rock Bet and make a $5 bet, and you'll get $150 in bonus bets if you win. Head over to Hard Rock Bet, sign up, and make your first deposit today. What is going on, everybody? Congrats to Green Bay Packer fans, because it looks like your team is currently the best one in the NFL. Now, we still got the weekend to go, but the Packers look fantastic. Before we dive into any football, subscribe to this channel. We're going live after every single one of these primetime games. Thursday night, we'll be live again. Sunday night, we'll be live. I almost said twice Monday, but we got a doubleheader. So just after the late Monday night game. So get on top of that. We got you covered. Same thing as the podcast, Apple, Spotify, wherever you make sure you subscribe. We will break down be strong. I'll give some of my thoughts on what we just witnessed. I do think there is a defining story so far early with this Packers team. It was evident last year, but you add Parsons. They were talking about on the broadcast. Jeff Hafley, I mean, absolutely. What do the kids say? Belt to ass. That was him to Cliff Kingsbury tonight. And obviously, Jayden Daniels took the brunt of it. We'll dive into some things with Washington. You know, they've made some acquisitions with trades. Looks a little sketchy. Adam Peters' first-round pick. Listen, you get drafted. You're a young player at tackle. You're going up against a guy that just got $188 million. But that was a rough one. And that was a rough night. So we'll dive into Washington. Some other stuff around the league. Somehow Brock Purdy is out potentially like a month. Big moment for Kyle Shanahan. That's all I'll say. Chiefs, Eagles, a couple things there. We got a couple teams on implosion watch. Miami. I mean, everyone thinks it is like, is Mike McDaniel fired after like next Thursday night when they play the Bills and if they get killed? Tennessee, some weird stuff going on there with Brian Callahan. And then something, the NFL deserves some credit for the kickoff rule tonight. I mean, hell, Debo had a pretty fun return. So that was a play that was dead. I mean, that play was dead. And let's face it, it's kind of alive now. But before we dive into any football, you know I got to tell you about my friends. You know I got to tell you about my partners. Game Time. You want to go to one of these games? Whenever I'm watching a Packer game, I go, God, it's got to be pretty awesome to be a season ticket holder there, to live somewhere in the Midwest and make it to Lambeau Field, the tailgate, to go to these games. Your team's always good. You want to go to one of these games anywhere around the country, college or pro, any other sport as well. You can search by the team. You can search by the event. You can search by the arena. It doesn't get any easier. You guys know the drill. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use the code JOHN. That's John for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account. Redeem the code JOHN for $20 off. Download the GameTime app today. Last minute tickets. Lowest prices guaranteed. You know the funny part about the NFL is even when a game, and to me the major difference with the NFL and college is like when one team is kicking someone's butt in college, typically the score reflects it. Now, not every game an ass kicking is 60-0 in college, but like if I am dominating you for 3 quarters, I am typically up several scores. Like it's not even a close game. Yet in the NFL, through 3 quarters, I think by the end of 3 quarters, they might have been even. But at one point in time with a couple minutes left, the graphic comes up that the Green Bay Packers tight end Tucker Kraft had more yards than the entire Washington Commanders offense, who have Jayden Daniels, Offensive Rookie of the Year, Debo Samuel, who's playmaker, Terry McLaurin, who's making $30 million a year. They got some firepower. And Zach Ertz, who's pretty legendary tight end, and still actually playing pretty well for an older guy. When I was actually, me and my wife went to see the baby doctor, there were all these pictures of the babies, and the Ertz baby was up there. So I've always had a soft spot for Zach Ertz, but that offense tonight was horrendous. And the Green Bay Packers kicked their ass, and they were still only up a touchdown. But then the Green Bay got the ball back, scored 24-10, and the game was basically over then. I think, and I do believe this, I liked them coming into the year. I thought they had a chance to be really good. You guys know that I one of my favorite bets before the year was them to win the division, and that was before the Micah Parsons trade. Obviously, once they traded for Micah Parsons, I've been saying this. The best part of that trade for 2025 is just Kenny Clark for Micah Parsons straight up. Those draft picks are in the future. It's like time value money. It's like me giving you $100 for you giving me $200 later, but that later is not coming for a year. So right now, it's Kenny Clark for Micah Parsons straight up, which is a trade that any human would make for this individual season. And obviously tonight, Micah Parsons looked like Lawrence Taylor coming off the edge against the rookie. But I do think it's fair to say that if this was college, the Green Bay Packers would be the number one team in the country. And last year, it was clear because for a long time in the McCarthy era, right up into the LaFleur era, offense has never been their problem. Obviously, when you have Aaron Rodgers for years winning MVPs and one of the best players in the history of the league, you're going to be really good. But they transitioned very smoothly into Jordan Love. Offense is not going to be their issue. They always build good offensive lines. Even if they have to mix and match their wide receivers, they figure it out. They find tight ends. Their just offense is going to be good. And defense has been the question. And they get Jeff Hafley, who's kind of thrown his hat in the ring these first 2 weeks. I thought last year was like, this is a guy that left Boston College because of the NIL situation. It's like he's never going to be able to win that much. He'll probably just get fired. He comes to Green Bay. He knows that like that's a better opportunity to up his stock to go to either a bigger college or even best case scenario one day be an NFL coach. And last year, if you would ask me, I'd be like, I bet he's going to be in the mix with another good year to interview for the top college jobs. If he keeps going like this, he's going to be one of the top candidates this offseason. Because that defense tonight, the speed in which they played, how well they tackled, how close their defensive backs are constantly, to the wide receivers. It's not like, Washington has no firepower with Debo and McLaurin. But that defense looks excellent, and they were hammering it all night. To me, what I saw, and this happens sometimes when Lamar plays Pittsburgh, the only team that is comfortable playing him with his speed, and he typically in Baltimore doesn't play that well against him, it's because they always have speed on the outside. And tonight, Jayden Daniels usually looks so much faster than so many teams he plays. And tonight, I would say he looked, I don't want to say pedestrian from an athletic standpoint, but he looked much more normal. And I think that was more of a reflection with just how fast and physical Green Bay is. But the defense was good last year. You add Micah Parsons to this unit, the speed, and they've had leads. The other thing, they've started 2 straight games. They kind of remind me last year of the Minnesota Vikings. A huge part of the Minnesota Vikings' success early in the season, and this kind of just snowballed as the year went, is the confidence for Sam Darnold was like through 4 games. They were dominating early in games. They were putting up a ton of points, and he had like 12 touchdowns through 4 weeks. Same thing. Last week, couple touchdowns early, Jordan Love. This week, couple touchdowns early, the offense and Jordan Love. It's like they're just rolling early in these games. Now, both of them have been at home, but like the offense gets a lead, and then they are built. They have basically a $200 million pass rusher in Micah. They have Rashawn Gary, who is an excellent player. They have several other guys, really in their front 7, who are fast, physical, just naturally get up the field guys, and they were engulfing him tonight. And play after play after play. And I give Jayden a lot of credit because I've been hammering this home forever. The most important aspect of a quarterback that we never talk about is toughness. And Jayden Daniels stood in there tonight and got the shit kicked out of him. He was getting peppered. And I don't know how much he weighs when he gets on the scale. He probably weighs a little bit more than he looks because he's a taller guy. But this guy's not built like, Cam Newton or Ben Roethlisberger. Like he's pretty slender, and he's just getting popped, and he kept hopping back up. But when this team gets a lead on you, it's different. I think they're a little more complete. And obviously, Jordan Love's not Peyton Manning. But the way this thing is built right now, remember when they had a couple pass rushers for years in Indianapolis, or when Peyton, got to Denver and they had DeMarcus Ware and Von Miller. Now you got Micah Parsons and Rashawn Gary. It's like, buckle the bleep up. We are coming. Because in the third, and everyone in the stadium, everyone on their couch knows they're passing, this is probably one of the last teams you want to see. In Washington tonight, when you throw out a rookie, and listen, it's part of life in the league. You get drafted high, you're our best option, you get thrown to the fire. And week 2, short week, on the road, Micah Parsons, $188 million. Back is okay. Kid, like Cliff said, good luck. I'll give you help occasionally, but go get him, Tiger. And go to the ground is what he did, because Micah Parsons went right around him. And let's face it, Cliff's offense is, I've never been a huge fan. Respect the guy, don't respect the scheme. I think it is extremely soft, but their quarterback's so good, they can overcome it. The problem with soft schemes, and this was early on, maybe Chip has morphed a little bit, but, definitely Cliff over the years. When you play physical fronts, they annihilate you, right? Physical fronts have an advantage no matter who they're playing, but when you play this spread it out offense, you better have big time pass protection, because if you don't, and they got good pass rushers, it's on like Donkey Kong, and that's what was happening to the Oregon right tackle. And I know, Herb Street's trying to be nice. He used to play left tackle. And listen, sometimes it's like, maybe that guy's not even ready to be a starter. He just has no choice. But here's the thing. In the NFL, if he's not ready, we saw it last year with the Chiefs. They put out the second rounder from BYU, and then like half the season in, they're like, this is not possible. He gets benched. And when you have expectations, I say this all the time, bad teams, the Panthers, the Dolphins, whoever, it doesn't really matter. Let the guy sink or swim, keep rolling him out there. Good teams, if he can't get it done against the best players, and we are playing a much harder schedule this year, and obviously Micah's on the upper echelon of guys who are going to play, but if he's a liability and going to get my quarterback killed, we at least have to look at other people, right? If he's just not ready. And listen, sometimes you're just not ready as a rookie, right? It's not like he was the 7th overall pick. He was a mid pick in the 20s. But tonight, that was eye-opening. And the other thing is, a good offensive coordinator, what they will do is they will find your weakness. I remember Belichick, a couple years ago, they did like the top 100 players of all time. And he was in there the whole time. And, different position guys like Ed Reed would show up, Brady, and I think Peyton Manning showed up. It was cool. And I remember one time Rich Eisen asked him a question. And the one thing Bill's pretty good at, even when he's grumpy, is just kind of keeping things simple. He's like, football's not that complicated. Like, think the art of war. We try to get our strengths on your weaknesses, and we try to hide our weaknesses from any strength that you may have. Like, this is pretty basic game, even though it's extremely complicated. When you have a weakness on defense in the secondary, and you are a good offensive coach with a capable quarterback and passing game, you attack that guy relentlessly. I don't care if you have Jerry Rice and Randy Moss out there, or you have the group of pretty capable, solid, talented young wide receivers that the Packers have, and that's what they did to Marcus Lattimore. And I never have an issue with someone being aggressive in the trade market. And the Washington found themselves last year in a situation that they haven't typically been in, right? And they have a new administration. All of a sudden, we're really good, and they got aggressive with the corner. It turns out he's old and he can't play anymore. And sometimes your body, like there are certain positions when your body leaves you when it comes to speed, like you can get away with it at wide receiver if you're a great route runner. Like what 40 time do you think Keenan Allen runs? I'll promise you this. It's closer to 5.0 than it is 4.6. But he can get open. So what? He's not that fast. He knows where he's going. You don't know where he's going. And he's a great route runner. Devontae Adams, never been a Blazer. You cannot function when you are not fast at corner. Not possible, especially if I'm going to put you in one-on-one situations. And LaFleur and the Packers, as that game went on, they went at him like relentlessly. And he was getting flagged. He was getting completions. And that's a problem. So if you look at, right now, Green Bay, it feels like they have a bunch of strengths, right? A bunch of guys that they've drafted, they've acquired, are playing really well. They signed Josh Jacobs. What is Josh Jacobs? A freaking beast. Like he's a guy that says, hand him again, hand him again. He's so good. Like this is to me the way I judge like top running backs. Even when, as the game's going, one score, maybe within 10 points, and you give it to a guy and he gets like 2 yards, and it never crossed your mind like, that wasn't even a bad play call. I'd give it to again because he's one good block. He's one broken arm tackle away from that being 17 yards. And the more and more he wears on you, it's like a fighter. Not everyone, Derrick Henry's a little Mike Tyson-y. He hits you with that 80-yard run, it breaks you. Well, most running backs don't have that speed that they're going to run, Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry. But a guy like Josh Jacobs is just like, I'm going to keep jabbing you in that side, and eventually you're just going to go down, be in so much pain. And that's what he feels like. He wears on you out. And then it opens it up for, some of the young wide receivers and the tight end. But like you watch Green Bay, they just are a more complete team. Like I still love the quarterback for Washington, but you see some weaknesses. They trade a high pick for Lattimore, can't play. They draft this guy to play offensive tackle for them, relative to a high-end guy. It looked like it was a lot. Now, I'd have to go back and really study last week. Maybe he clearly did better against the New York Giants, who supposedly have a good, pass rush. So maybe it's just, hey, Micah Parsons, peak of his powers, fresh legs. I'm not burying the kid by any means, but if you're going to be good, you can't really hide tackles. I get away with guards and centers because I can double team, but a tackle, even if I'm chipping or helping a tight end, there are going to be a lot of times where it's just kind of him and the guy. And in this league, like every team, if not Micah Parsons or Max Crosby, they have a group of guys that they can throw at you. And listen, Halfley, I can't sing that guy's praises enough. That was an ass kicking. This guy's good. I got to be honest. I remember years ago, he was on the staff for Chip Kelly with the 49ers. And I used to go to these practices. And I remember looking at him. He's pretty small, skinny, just kind of looks kind of geeky. But I remember thinking like, God, this guy. And then Chip got fired and Kyle Shanahan kept him. And he was on the staff for a couple years. And I remember talking to someone about him. Like this guy, I'd never met him. I didn't know anything about him. I was just judging him off the way he looked. Like this skinny little white guy who's coaching DBs. And if he went to practice, like he's coaching his ass off. I remember asking someone, they're like, I'm telling you, John, he's actually a pretty good coach. So I was like, hey, man, you can't judge a book by its cover. And then he goes on to Ohio State, and look at him now. He's a stud. So my first just judging him on the practice field, I'm like, this guy? Now, you got to be careful. Kyle's had a lot of like Mike McDaniels, Jeff Halfley type guys running around. So if you just judge all these like little guys screaming, you think they all suck, and they all end up becoming head coaches. So to me, Jeff Halfley, man, he's on a trajectory right now. Green Bay better enjoy it. Like this is a Super Bowl level team because this guy's going to be interviewing this offseason for sure top college jobs because he's already been a head coach in college. But to me, like the NFL teams are going to start sniffing around what he's doing. It's not even debatable. And listen, I know he's got good friends in the media. Don't know him personally, but they tried to push last year. Cliff Kingsbury. Cliff Kingsbury cannot be a head coach. This offense, like you cannot hire this guy to run this offense. Like they can't on short yardage run a play where a quarterback's under center. It doesn't exist. And I know there was a play tonight where Austin Eckler got it. I think it was like 4th and 1, or it might even been like 4th. But it's like, it's 4th and 1, and you're running a gun run against an excellent defensive front. And thank God, like Eckler kind of like got an extra little juice and kind of rolled around. It's like, what are we doing? How can anyone, I don't pretend to know more X's and O's than this guy, but in what world do we go, hey, short yardage, midfield, gun run? Like, how over the course of your career coaching football have we never come into the meeting room or on the field and be like, what? Let's just try some sort of downhill run under center. Even if it's not, like, I'm not even advocating having Jayden do tush push or quarterback sneak. Just a normal short yardage run under center that successful teams have been running forever. How has that never come up? No, we don't do that. If your ever thing is, especially in the sport of football, like, we do not do that, totally understand if it's like, hey, guy hits a chick, we don't draft those guys. Totally on board. But if your thing is like, yeah, short yardage runs, quarterback under center, we don't do it. Can't coach it? We probably could, but we don't even try. Like, I'm out on your offense. I just am. And I thought tonight, like, Jayden's such a talented player, he would work, and you and I could be calling plays for him. But that offense, man, I don't know. Now, you can say it's the best defense in the league, but Green Bay looks fantastic. They really do. And I feel pretty good. I also think we got to be careful now, the way we look at the Lions that everyone wrote off, that their defensive speed and their defensive pass rush, they're going to be an awful matchup for them because Goff definitely can't move. Like even tonight, Jayden had a lot of problems running away because they could kind of catch him or at least get close to him, and their team speed really threw him off. Jared Goff can't move more than a couple yards; like he has to play within the pocket. So I think we got to be careful about just kind of writing off and burying the Detroit Lions as like a 7-win team this year. That could be an outlier situation, and they're just going to lose to Green Bay because to me, Green Bay is even going to be faster indoors. I've always said this about the Packers even before their defense was good, but definitely now. They've always had speed at wide receiver. They've had athletic guys on defense. They just weren't that strong. Now they have like strong speed guys on defense with Parsons and how good Gary's playing. I mean, granted he's been on the team, but I'm really high in Green Bay. You don't want to peak too early. We saw the Saints last year. They were team of the year through 2 games. Didn't work out that well. Everyone was fired by like Thanksgiving. So obviously that's not going to happen here in Green Bay. But my overall point is like you got to keep getting better. And the good thing for them is like they've had back-to-back games where why weren't you guys up like 30-0? So they've kind of sputtered out a little on offense. They've definitely left some points on the board. But man, that defense, Jeff Hafley, great hire. This is where LaFleur deserves credit. And this is why I'm so high on this team. It's like their organization is just so well run. It's just like what an impressive hire. Where everyone's like, I got to fire his boy Joe Barry, which couldn't have been easy. I don't care who you are. I think it's so easy for us, and I'm guilty of this too. Like, fire this guy. It's like, well, yeah, this guy's been one of the best friends in my life for the last 15 years. Like, I love this guy. I love this human being. I love this guy's family. Like, like that's kind of important in life. The problem is once you start mixing those relationships in business, like it does get complicated. That's also part of life. But I think we think these things are a little easier than they actually are. So obviously that was hard. But once he did pull the trigger on that, to go out and make a decision that no one saw coming, and then to have this work out, and they showed the visual tonight of Gudikins and Ed Policy, it just feels they just got some pretty good synergy going, and they have for a long time. But how do the Packers always mix and match different people, whether it was Ron Wolf and Holmgren, Ted and Mike, and now Gudikins, LaFleur, and Ed Policy? It just they're good at like they're like a matchmaker of putting these guys together. Then they get along, and it just kind of works. LaFleur went nuts early in the game when the guy screwed up the field goal, go for it situation. I remember going to a Titans practice. It would have been Mike Vrabel's like first OTAs, and I was there for. I've told this story before for like a bachelor party, but I went like 4 or 5 days early. I had John Robinson, the former GM, on the podcast. Played a little golf, screwed around, checked out Nashville. But I remember LaFleur was kind of this young up and comers, his first ever offensive coordinator job, thinking like, God, this guy's a pretty big red ass. He was screaming at people. That was like Mariota. They had Dion Lewis, Derrick Henry. That was before Derrick Henry was good, like Luan. I mean, they had some good players. But I just remember this guy, and I've been to a lot of NFL practices. Some offensive coordinators, like if you go to a 49er practice, Kyle Shanahan's not screaming at a bunch of people. You go to a lot of practices, like Gruden would scream at people. I'm trying to think like even Harbaugh, Greg Roman, they weren't screaming at you. You went there, it's like LaFleur was just screaming at people, and sometimes he's kind of got that in him. He's got a little edge to him. LaFleur's really grown on me over the years. So props to the Packers, big win. And I'll say this: I give you a little grace. You should lose this game if you are a road team on Thursday Night Football, week 2 or week 12. That's really difficult. And when you are a road team on Thursday Night Football against a good team, like if you're a road team on Thursday Night Football and you got to play Miami or Carolina, or you have to get on a plane and fly several hours, that is not easy because you basically throw a white flag to Wednesday, right? You work out Monday, Tuesday, and then you travel Wednesday. So they get all of Wednesday to kind of do like slow walkthrough stuff and just operate a little more normal. It is a massive advantage to be the home team on Thursday night. It's a enormous advantage when you get later in the season. So you get a little less room for me to like give you a free pass, but on the road, Thursday night football, Green Bay, not an easy spot. But this is where also a lot of people are questioning. Washington a little fluky last year, won those one score games, like Stuckey had mentioned. Um, all the fourth downs they got, what were they, like 20 of 23 last year? And they weren't all like fourth and inches. So it's going to be something to watch. But as long as you got Jayden Daniels, I'm not writing you off. I do think, though, the longer Cliff, his offense historically, like the more and more you see of him, it's a little easier to get after. Uh, so entertaining game. Okay, couple other topics, couple other things around the National Football League. Rap Sheet put out within the last 48 hours that Brock Purdy is out 2 to 5 weeks, which I got to be honest, I'm not questioning his reporting. I mean, he's a big J and he's great at his job. I like little Rap Sheet, but 2 to 5 is kind of weird. It's like that could be like a week or that could be a month and a half. Usually it's like 6 to 8, 1 to 2. John Lynch came out today and said they're viewing it more week to week. I do think this Purdy was good last week. Like obviously he threw the game winning touchdown. He just had a really good game, except he did throw 2 interceptions. I thought one of them was really bad. The other one was just good defense. But he was really good last week. And Kittle gets KO'd in the game, so he doesn't have him for a long stretch of the game. Juwan Jennings gets hurt. Like it was impressive outing. Purdy's a really good player. Uh, when you pay a guy a lot of money, though, like here's the one concern I have for Brock when it comes to just the long term view. He's kind of been hurt a lot. When I think Patrick Mahomes, I think Josh Allen, I think Lamar Jackson. These guys miss games. When have they ever missed? I was thinking, I was watching something last night on Devin McCourty. This clip came up of like Devin talking to Florio. So I just Googled Devin McCourty and I went to his game log page for his career. I was like adding it up. It's like this guy played like 12, 13 years. I'm pretty sure he missed like 4 total games. A huge part of football, whether you're Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, or whether you're just a safety like McCourty, is your availability. And I don't blame, no player wants to get injured. Of course not. But he's had some like he got injured a couple years ago, missed 3 games in the middle of the season. Obviously, got injured in the NFC Championship game. He got injured here. It's just a little concerning, especially when it comes out of the game. It wasn't just like, hey, this freaky thing, the guy landed on him. It's like, well, he threw the game winning touchdown. He came back in the game, did victory formation, and then the next day you say he's got a toe and a shoulder? I just, that's tough. But this is also why they kind of value the backup quarterback position. Here's the thing the 49ers, who love this guy, and rightfully so. Brock's really good, credible story, meshes great with Kyle. Gave him a bunch of money. For 2 of the last 3 years, like they've taken the backup quarterback job pretty seriously. 3 years ago, it was Sam Darnold. They love the guy. And this year was Mac Jones, someone that Kyle Shanahan really wanted to draft at number 3 overall when they kind of talked him out of it to go with Trey Lance. Neither pick would have been good. But I do think this is also why you pay Kyle Shanahan. I said this about Ben Johnson. If the Caleb thing is a disaster, which still got a ways to go, not looking great, but that's why you gave Ben Johnson 5 years, $13 million a year. Because the offense is his baby and he's going to figure it out. He's worked with countless different quarterbacks. We know Shanahan has won games with a ton of different guys. And it's going to be really hard because arguably, especially right now, their best player in offense is George Kittle, who has a pulled hamstrings out a month. And Christian McCaffrey got more touches last game in terms of rushing attempts and pass targets than he had since like 2022. It's like you can't ride this guy like he's Secretariat when he just basically missed all season last year with calves and Achilles, and his calves still hitting up. So Kyle Shanahan, Mac Jones, and this is where you get a lot of credit as an organization. We'll talk about Philly here in a minute. When teams are willing to spend big money, like Robert Saleh was on the fence, he was thinking about going to different couple places, and the 49ers gave him a ton of money. There's a decent chance he's the highest paid defensive coordinator, if not tied with Fangio as the guy making the most. And he carried him in the first game in terms of like random guys making big plays. And you got to invest in your coaching staff when you have the opportunity to get big time coaches because you're going to have injuries. I mean, if you're watching tonight, guys were dropping like flies. It's like we got a guy carted off. We got Eckler tearing his Achilles. Now, granted, it's Thursday night game, but this is a consistent theme in the NFL. You just watch a random game. It feels it'd be stunning if the cart doesn't come out once a game. And how many times, 6, 7 guys throughout the course of the game go to the tent. Now, a large percentage of those guys come back, but sometimes they don't. Sometimes the guy's questionable. You saw tonight, Reed, shoulder, boom, out. Wise, knee, out. Eckler, Achilles, out. I mean, these guys are probably out. I mean, Reed might be miss. I don't know if he broke a collarbone 5, 6, 7 weeks. The other two guys out for the season. So it's just like that's how fast it happens. So that's where you really got to rely on your coaching because right now you only got so many options. Practice squad guys, you got to coach these guys up, and no one's going to feel sorry for you, and no one's going to make any excuses. Well, we had a bunch of guys injured. Yeah, it's part of the league. Now, obviously, some teams have more guys injured than other people, but this is why I bet on the 49ers to be pretty good this year. Was their schedule? Well, it's like Mac Jones, Spencer Rattler. Godspeed, buddy. Chiefs and the Eagles. There was a fantastic article on the Athletic about the Philadelphia Eagles and how they operate financially, and essentially that Howie and Jeffrey they have over 30% of their salary cap in 2025 in dead money. We talk a lot about dead money. The Eagles have a ton of dead money because guys like Jason Kelsey, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, these guys are retired. Well, you got to pay a credit card, and when you buy these guys or extend their contracts, the Eagles push it all down. So when these guys randomly retire a little earlier than you thought, it all gets accelerated. Well, you have to pay the bill. You've already actually paid them in real money, but on your salary cap, it comes due. And it doesn't matter because the whole premise of this article is how willing Jeffrey Lurie is to take his cash and manipulate the salary cap because he'll give you big signing bonuses. And then you push it over the course of the cap. And this is what I've never understood about the NFL. I understand, and it's in this article, it's basically like, Cincinnati takes a lot of shit. Pittsburgh Steelers are the same. They don't pay these huge signing bonuses. And I was thinking about it driving around today. Jeffrey Lurie bought this team in the late 90s. So the majority of his life, all he's known as cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. The money flows. As Howie called it, it's called interest-free loans. We know the money's coming. We just got to pay it later. We're not worried about, going belly up about not being able to make our payments. We see the guaranteed money. I do think the Rooneys and the Browns and some of these old school families that have been in the NFL for so long, they're wired like it was back in the day. And in fairness, back in the day, 60s, 70s, the 80s, obviously the television money was way different. You were very predicated on gate receipts and people coming and contracts. Even in the documentary with Jerry Jones, that's like the mid 90s, signing Deion Sanders. These contracts, I think he got like a $10 million signing bonus. So within 25, 30 years, the economics of the league have changed. I mean, gone to a different universe money-wise. But the money's guaranteed and the money's there. So I don't understand these teams not taking advantage of what the Eagles are doing. Like the reason the Eagles have a really good roster this year is because their owner is willing to take money that he's getting from the league. He doesn't have to do anything. Like you're just getting free money for the league being part of this television revenue that's impossible to go over because the cap is like not even 50% of that amount of money that you're getting or right around there. So you have so much room to spend because your other expenses, your coaches don't cost that much relative to players, and no one else in your building costs anything. So the Eagles, the reason like this week they're favored, it should have been a disaster. And as people were saying in this article, like they're just a team on tilt. But if you're paying elite players and they're playing elite, it's going to work. And that's what Howie and Jeffrey have done. And that's why they come in like with a pretty good chance to be a Super Bowl type team again because they are utilizing all this money the NFL is making. I think a lot of teams, it's crazy reading this article, are just like, what are you doing with the money? Like pocketing it? Like putting it in a brokerage account? Like you guys are all living in the biggest house on the block. You got this asset worth billions of dollars. I don't understand not investing it back into the team, especially when you get the opportunity to pay good players. And it just shows you a lot of these owners are not. And here's the thing. It's not like Mike Brown is like buying 7 houses in Italy and has some $200 million yacht parked next to Bezos. Like, where's all the money going that he gets from the league? I just don't quite get it. I think, and I've said this forever, when you have the disease of being cheap, even when you get to the wealth level of these guys with guaranteed money coming in, you don't shake it. It's a disease you do not shake. It's not curable once you pass a certain point in your life. And clearly some of these teams have it. And I'll give Clark Hunt and the Chiefs credit. They were notoriously known for being a little cheap. I do think they have done a better job. Obviously, Coach Reed and Patrick Mahomes have inspired them. Spags makes big money now. Obviously, they pay their players. Karlaftis just got a huge contract. They pay multiple offensive linemen big contracts. Obviously, Patrick has 10 years, $450 million. And who knows, I mean, he's making so much. The guy's just printing money. But I do think I do believe in championship character, in championship blood, even though when you watch that game against the Chargers, it didn't look great. I mean, their defense got shredded. Offensively, Worthy's kind of up in the air right now, and I felt bad. I saw some of Travis's comments. He was just like, "It's embarrassing for me. I'm a 13th year pro. I know the landmarks to be at. I got to pay attention. I can't run into him." And obviously, Travis is a lot bigger than him, so if I'm going to run into him, I'm going to take him out. And I hurt the guy. It sucks. It's like on me, especially a guy that we really need. So it's like their offense. Everyone kept saying like, "What's up with the Chiefs' offense?" It's not that complicated. Worthy got hurt 3 plays in, and let's face it, their version of a star receiver, relative to like Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, of course not, but Rashee Rice, relative to their team's really good, and he's suspended. So if I take away your two top receivers and your tight ends old, and you don't have a great running game, what do you think it's going to look like? I could have John Elway or Peyton Manning in their prime. Like, you're not going to score that many points. So Worthy's very, very important. But it's tough to start 0-2 because someone has to win between the Chargers and the Raiders. And if the Chargers beat the Raiders on Monday night and you were to lose if you're the Chiefs, you're all of a sudden, this isn't basketball or baseball. So like 2 games back, whatever. It's early in the season. Football, all of a sudden, it's like we're 3-1, you're 1-3. Like, it can get kind of bigger than you think really, really fast. So there is some pressure here on the Chiefs at home, longer week. Obviously, the Eagles did too, to win this game. And this is where the championship character, the championship medal, and just and they've done this a lot. And this is why they parallel the Patriots so much. The Patriots won a lot of weird, ugly games over the course of their 20 years. Not everything. This wasn't like Alabama in their peak. I mean, this is the NFL. Sometimes you got to pull games out of what, and all of a sudden you look up at the scoreboard and it's like 23-19. You're like, oh shit, we didn't even play good, but we get take a win. And that's what I think the Chiefs have to find a way to do. Obviously, Jalen Carter didn't get suspended. No, nor should he have. I agreed with, getting kicked out of that game was basically he didn't play a snap, so that might as well be a suspension. But you imagine he's going to be motivated. Luckily for the Chiefs, their center and guard pretty good. But I'm pretty fired up to watch that game. Couple more things before we get out of here. I do think we have pretty early. This is gonna get ugly. Watch. Uh, I, I would rank this team number 2 and a pretty distant number from number 1. But Brian Callahan. Listen, he could play Denver 10 times in Denver. He's probably losing that game 10 out of 10 times. His rookie making his first start, like he's never winning that game. But he's getting crushed for the sequence, pinned up against his own goal line for going 3-and-out in like the blink of an eye, giving up a touchdown. He clearly didn't know the rules. He even admitted it with an elbow relative to knees, for a catch. It just, the GM there, Borgonzi, that came from Kansas City, did not hire him. So anytime you have kind of that overlap of like, well, we just drafted quarterback number 1 overall, that I'm betting on being a pretty good player. I'm betting on at minimum at the end of the season going, Cam Ward is a guy that a lot of people would like to work with. A lot of people would like to coach in Nashville. Incredible, incredible place. Sign me up if I was a coach. I would go there yesterday. So it would be a job that would have a lot of people lined up with strong interest. So you got new GM, you got this young quarterback, and there's some pressure on this guy to start looking capable. Now, I like him this week plus 5.5, but I did the same thing last year and they kept losing. So if you tell me that the Rams beat the living what out of them, I think that situation could get a little weird for Callahan. And he could be in one of those, kind of rare positions where it's like he's a 2-and-done coach. Everywhere I clicked over the last 3 or 4 days, my YouTube algorithm, my Twitter algorithm, my Instagram algorithm, anything football wise, was about Mike McDaniel sucking. The team sucking, them doing players only meetings after week 1, Tua, it's pretty ugly. Everyone's taking pot shots. And listen, I take no joy. I feel a lot of people are kicking him when he's down. Like I've been making fun of this guy for a little bit for just being like kind of an overrated media fabrication. I do think some of the clips I've seen, it's become kind of sad. Like I take less joy in it now, saying like this guy's they're really terrible, they're an embarrassment, but it's going to get really ugly. And now the masses have kind of swarmed in, and who knows? Maybe the Patriots aren't good. Maybe they can pull a game out of nowhere, and all of a sudden the Dolphins win at home. But if you tell me they lose at home by a touchdown, by 10 points, even if the Patriots aren't good, I just think this thing's going to grow and grow and grow and get so ugly. And the reality is, these owners, they spend way more time at home watching TV, listening to radio when they're driving around, having their buddies send them articles. Like they're not at the office just locked in a film room, kind of out of touch with reality, right? They are much more in touch with the fan base. Reddit, I mean, they are dialed in of all the conversation outside the building. So whether it's the guy's kids telling them, I think that plays a huge role, and I think Mike's clearly in major trouble. I want to end on this. I got this DM on Instagram. We do mailbags. We'll have one out this weekend at John Middlekauff, firing those DMs. But it kind of is a introduction to what I wanted to talk about. And he said, John, I've got a weird question. And I'm not sure you can answer this. But with the new kickoff rule, I've noticed almost every team using backup running backs to return kicks. Does this have to do with the new kickoff return becoming more of a run play? And with both teams lining up straight across from each other, 5 yards apart? And that's a great question, because tonight you saw Deebo Samuel, who is, widely considered a wide back, as in a wide receiver running back combination. And anyone who's been by Deebo, he's built much more like a running back than he is a wide receiver. But he's tailor-made to do that. Now, granted, he did that in college. He's a good return man. But if you look around the league, you are using players who you would use on offense, not just special teams only type guys to return kicks. And Garofolo tweeted out this week about this rule, or about what's going on early on in the season. The teams have seen the impact of the kick return. The average starting field position for the kickoff is basically the 30-yard line, 29.7. And entering last night's game, going into Monday night, the highest in week one since 2000. Well, this offseason, one thing they did is if you get a touchback, it goes to the 35. So if you're watching kickoffs throughout the weekend and watch it this upcoming weekend, they are basically kicked in the landing zone every time now. Because if I just kick it through the end zone and you start at 35, you're one explosive play away from being at the 50-yard line. So you're basically the kickoff and a good offensive play from being at midfield with only one offensive play. That's insane. The touchback used to be at the 20-yard line. So to get to midfield, you would have needed several explosive plays. And even if you're not doing explosive plays, it would take you, potentially 7, 8 plays to even gain 30, 35 yards. Now, I screw up the kickoff, boom, you're close to midfield. So the rule change, and this is where the NFL deserves a lot of credit, they are very proactive with trying different stuff. And years ago, Belichick deserves his flowers on this one, was like, we can't keep kicking the extra point from the 2-yard line. It's like 99% accurate. It's a wasted play. Why do we even have collisions? So they moved it back, and what happened? It went from like 99 to like 91. And that 8-9% difference is more impactful, because you're always like a little on your edge, especially in the second half, that a guy could miss the PAT. Well, the kickoff rule, and listen, a lot of traditionalist coaches that have been around a long time did not like it, and I get it, because they thought like it would just ruin the play. It just wouldn't exist. Special teams was basically going to go away. It actually has resurrected special teams, because no one participated in this. They would just kick it through the end zone 20. And then they even tried to kick it to the 25. They're like, whatever, the 25. Well, you go to the 35 now, it kind of makes me think. So if you're going to force me to kick it into that little landing area, I'm not just going to put some random guy like me or you back there on my 53-man roster. It's like, Deebo, go back there, right? Whoever on your team, the backup running back, maybe like a a thicker safety or DB that has some return skills in college, but we're going to take that play seriously like an offensive play. And I would imagine anyone, the media guys that go to, or if you as a fan go to training camp, that period is much more serious in practice. You have much more data now, but like the blocking area, if you block it well, I really might only have to make a guy or two miss, right? The old kickoff speed was such a huge impact. Having Dante Hall or Devin Hester or way back in the day, Deion Sanders, guys like that, because you got this running head start and it was like I needed a lane. Well, now it's much more like a running play where I need a gap, but I also shiftiness, and this is where the running back element comes in. Breaking little arm tackles because the guy's not running full speed. He's only running 10-ish yards, and really he's breaking or shedding a tackle that the guy's right in front of him. Trying to just neutralize him. So I think the play last year was kind of a work in progress. This year with the tweak of extending the touchback, toward the offense's goal line, has just kind of added some fireworks. And I find this play, you used to just, if you got up, you had to take a leak. If you came back and you missed the kickoff, and you're like, oh, they're on the 22-yard line, you miss nothing. Now you kind of feel like something could happen. I mean, tonight, all of a sudden, Debo, I'm screaming Maria because she loves Debo, and I thought he was for a split second thought he had a chance, but not quite fast enough anymore. But he took it to like well past the 50. So he's a good example. I think a lot of guys like him that are versatile players that are offensive, like running backs or have that skill base in college are going to be utilized, in that play. Have a great night and talk to everyone Sunday.